It is the second most prevalent drug abuse behind marijuana. About 8% of college students have reported using it, but clinically it is much worse. It's true that it works at some of the same receptors as marijuana, but it probably works at other ones, and the toxicity we see from it, the clinical effects are much more dangerous. It is nothing like marijuana, and I would suggest that we stop calling it synthetic marijuana or legal weed, because it gives people a false sense of security. It is nothing like marijuana.
Thank you. Your time has expired.
Mayor Pro Tem Gonzalez, want to make a
Motion to extend. Sorry.
favor, opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor. Doctor, thank you for coming. I know you also have to be leaving here shortly, but it's my understanding some of the chemicals that have commonly been used to create some of these synthetic marijuana have been banned. So sometimes what happens is different chemicals are used, so it's changing from manufacturer to manufacturer, from day to day, and so that puts a hardship, I would imagine, on the medical profession to be able to kind of stay on top of this and knowing what's impacting some of the patients that are coming in. There's a high, number, especially young adults coming into emergency rooms, and so can you speak a little bit about that challenge, about the different chemicals?
Absolutely. So there are about 400 synthetic cannabinoids that have been developed since the late 80s at Clemson and elsewhere to study the cannabinoid receptors. About 200 have been used as drugs of abuse. As an emergist and as a toxicologist, I actually don't need to know the chemical composition. We don't do any specific testing. It's a clinical diagnosis, whether they are or are not intoxicated by these drugs. It's not really important for us to identify the specific chemical.
Motion.
Second.
Favor, opposed, motion
We have to
carries.
recognize the clinical toxicodrome and then treat it accordingly. Now, it was my understanding that the Synthetic Drug Abuse Act of 2012, federal law, made all of these illegal. It's also my understanding that it's not really enforced regularly.
Thank you.
Councilmember Christie.
So, Doctor, in one or two sentences, the toxicity is so severe, whether it's a compromised nervous system or immunological system, it is so severe that you would not recommend it to one individual in the population of this city, and the side effects could to extend to rigor mortis.
As a medical toxicologist and as a physician, I wouldn't in good conscience recommend using any drugs of abuse. But I would say because of this prevalence and its potential for serious toxicity, it's arguably the greatest drug-related public health threat we have right now. It is unpredictable. It can cause permanent psychosis, cardiovascular instability, seizures, and a lot of times when people are under the influence, they end up sustaining trauma. They run into traffic, they fall off of scaffolding, for example. So its danger lies not only in the inherent drug, but what happens while they're under the influence. So I would not recommend it for everyone. I think it needs to be.
And it could,
Second.
and it could cause
Favor,
death.
opposed, motion carries.
It can cause death, directly or indirectly, yes.
Councilmember Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Doctor, for coming down here. My oldest is at Baylor College of Medicine, so if he takes your class, take it easy on him. We appreciate it.
So far, every student has gotten honors.
That's great. May his trend continue. Question, I don't know a lot about kush, so maybe you can help me, educate me a little bit, but when I did some studying, they do call it a strain of cannabis. But yet, everything I read says that the problem in today's society is they lace the cannabis with things like household pneumonia and things like that that go right to the central nervous system. So in your experience, I'm assuming you're a toxicologist and also have some patients in DR, is that the detrimental effect that we really look at? Because everything you see is cushion in itself. You can use it for medicinal purposes, and it's not so-called as harmful as when they lace it with these other drugs or these other household things you can get out of your kitchen cabinet.
So there are two different problems.
Motion to extend.
Second, favor, opposed, motion carries.
So kush refers to these synthetic cannabinoids. It has nothing to do with cannabis. It just happens to work at some of the same receptors. The problem is some people use the same name to describe different medications or different substances of abuse. Kush is not cannabis. People do lace cannabis with other products, including household products or PCP, for example. That's a different issue. We can discuss it another time. But kush and other synthetic cannabinoids, spice, K2, bonsai, serenity, they are not cannabis. And it's not the adulterants, if you will, that are dangerous. It's the actual cannabinoids themselves. They're two different issues. And and much more dangerous than anything that you could lace with marijuana.
Councilmember, part of the problem is that there's a strain of marijuana that sometimes referred to as kush, and the term has been applied to these other herbal substances that have been chemically treated. The stuff that comes in the packages, the K2, the spice, and the potpourri, and so forth. Whatever herb it may have started out as, by the time it comes to us, it has been chemically impregnated with lots of stuff that you shouldn't have in your body and can have permanent impacts. The problem is that the word has been used to apply to both things.
Thank you.
Need a motion to extend?
So moved.
Second. Discussion, favoring, opposed, motion carries. Councilmember Martin, did you have further questions?
No, ma'am.
Councilmember Gallegos.